Don't waste your time. Do you know that everybody alive gets exactly the same amount of time? We get all there is. It's what we do with it that makes the difference. Don't waste your life. Set your goals high. Quit thinking about what's wrong. Start thinking what's right. Love a little more, hate a little less. You have no idea what you're capable of doing. Make up your mind today, you're going to figure it out.
You have to be okay with being misunderstood. Mm-hmm. You have to be okay with being rejected. You have to be okay with not thinking like the 99%. If you want to lead, you have to lead from a place of confidence. And the worst thing you want to be is be a follower that follows followers. Yeah. It's the worst thing that you can be. Sheep. A sheep that follows sheep. A leader is the one that sets the direction, is the one that thinks on their own terms, whether they're right or wrong, whether you agree with it or not. You have to be able to turn your back to the crowd. You must be able to turn your back to the status quo and the norm, because usually the norm is dictated, like we said, by perceptions that are managed by extremely powerful entities and people. And it's usually based off of a very limited set of rules and beliefs and a preconceived set of plans. If you want to be a leader, you have to lead yourself first. And you have to lead yourself through free thought and through critical thinking. And unless you develop those things, then you're going to just be a follower of followers.
I bet you and I have a lot in common. We're not the strongest, smartest, or richest people we know. We're not the fastest or most connected. We're not the best looking or most talented. We don't have the best genetics. But what we do have is something a lot of those other people will never have: the will to work. If there's one unavoidable truth in this world, it's that there is no substitute for putting in the work. There is no shortcut or growth hack or magic pill that can get you around the hard work of doing your job well, of winning something you care about, or of making your dreams come true. People have tried to cut corners and skip steps in this process for as long as hard work has been hard. Eventually, those people either fall behind or get left in the dust, because working your ass off is the only thing that works 100% of the time for 100% of the things worth achieving. Work works. That is the bottom line. No matter what you do, no matter who you are, my entire life has been shaped by that single idea.
Be a good man, don't be a nice guy. And what that meant in our world was, hey man, when you're confronted with something where you need to fit in and do something that's against your character and your values and beliefs, you don't need to be a nice guy. You need to be a good man, right? Something comes up, you need to stand up for something that you believe in. Be a good man, don't be a nice guy, you know? And I think it manifests itself in every single area of life. I think it's a profound thing. Be a good person, right? You can, rather than just a nice person. I think when you decide you're going to just be a nice guy and kind of blend in, you are now living with a false belief that you weren't born to do something great with your life and you're supposed to exist. I think when you start to have this knowing that I'm supposed to do something great with my life, I'm supposed to make a difference, I'm supposed to have something, it doesn't have to be in big, whatever people measure as big ways, big Academy Award, small, you open the door for somebody who needs it. They're both great things in your life, right? And so I think people start to blend in the minute they begin to believe they've got no destiny. They've got nothing to offer. They've got nothing to contribute. And then all of a sudden, that's the disease. The symptom is they become a nice guy. The symptom is they fit in.
It's like when Kobe said, I was chasing perfection and excellence, even though I knew I would probably never catch it. But just the fact that I was willing to chase it, I would defeat most of my opponents, because most of my opponents would never chase something that didn't have any guarantees attached to it. Chasing perfection and excellence, even though I knew I would never catch it. But he had the courage to chase it because he knew what it would turn him into. And most cats wouldn't even go down the course to chase it because it didn't have any guarantees attached to it.
Stop questioning your purpose. Just know that whatever journey you're on, you can't be envious of somebody else. You can't look over in their yard and go, why ain't I rocking like that person? It's not your time. God don't want that to happen for you like that. You just keep doing what you doing, and there's no bad in your life. It's all good. Just be grateful along the way that God, trust God in this journey. He got you. Don't try to thirst to be nobody else. Just don't question when something bad happens to you. Just know that God's trying to make you stronger. And lastly, Just be grateful for who you are on this journey. Don't try to be anybody except you. I'm Marlon Wayans.
Doubt is such a strange thing. I mean, it's, there'll be times where you succeed and there are times that you fail. So wasting your time doubting whether you're going to be successful or not is pointless. It is. I mean, you just put one foot in front of the other, you control what you can't control, and then you see what the outcome is, right? If you win, great. You're going to have to wake up the next day and do the journey over again. If you lose, it sucks, but you're going to have to wake up the next day and do the journey all over again anyway, right? So it's really pointless to sit here and debate or have doubt or this, that, and the other. You train as hard as you can, and you step out there and you let it flow.
The only way you're ever going to get to the other side of this journey is you have got to suffer to grow. To grow, you must suffer. And some people will get it and some people won't. But they have to see what their journey is to start their journey. Several people live to be 100 years old, and they have great lives, and they have great kids. Their kids go to college and all sorts of stuff. But somewhere in their life, there was a point where they had a decision to make. They can go left or right on this path. Left was the easy route. Right was the hard route. A lot of people take the easy route. And they had a good life that way, but the better life was going to the right side. And you may have 20 years of pain and suffering to get past it, but a lot of us die never truly starting our journey.
When I wake up every day, there's only one voice I have to listen to. It doesn't matter whether I achieve all of my goals or I don't achieve all of the goals. In 3 generations, I'll be forgotten, and the only people who were naysaying against me will also be dead. And so then it's like, just do it for me.
I think one of the first ones that I started to learn that you can't really give a fuck about what people say no more. Because everybody gonna fucking critique everything that you do, no matter what you do. That shit will creep into your mind, no matter if you believe it or not.
It's wasted energy.
Yeah, it's wasted energy.
People limit themselves in a crazy way. They're like, oh yeah, everybody can't do it. It's like you said, it's like, no, everybody can't do it. It takes a lot. You know what I mean? You gotta fucking go through the shit to get it. But when you get there, it looks awesome, right? The top of the hill looks great, but some people settle for the middle.
How would you create, if you had to create a human, what would you put them through to make them tough? It probably wouldn't be a really chill life. Yeah. What would you put them through to make them patient? You probably wouldn't give them things immediately. And so it's like, we want these traits, but each of the traits has a price tag attached to it. And it's just like, do you want to pay the price tag to get the thing? And so I think if people reframed the period of life that they're going through as the price that they're paying out of their wallet, but the wallet is their time, is the seconds of life that they're trading for it, then I think more people would be willing to make the trade. Because at least when I look at myself, like when I'm 80 something years old and I'm looking back on my life, I want to have these traits. But in order to have those traits, I know I have to go through these things. And I think for me, that's given me a lot of comfort in hard times.
Those who can do. Those who can't, talk about those who can.
Yeah.
Now, can you? Or can you not? Or you just want to sit on the sideline to talk about other people? Or can you step up?
Intentionally putting yourself in uncomfortable and difficult situations. Why would you do that? Why would you intentionally make things harder? Why would you intentionally make things more difficult? Because when you make things more difficult intentionally, you get the opportunity to gain the skill set that is produced from the endurance through the difficult times.
I was not always this strong guy you see. I went through a lot of hard times in my life to get here today. All I wanted to be was an uncommon man. In my whole life, I was not that. Much worse than that. I know what it takes to be a combat soldier, and I used to look for courage. I thought courage was a man who won the Medal of Honor. It is. But courage is a man who's willing to put those boots on every single day of his life to go out there and fight for this country where nobody even knows what the hell they're doing or where the hell they're at.
Well, sometimes that's what a person needs. Something that they can dedicate themselves towards, because they don't feel like they have anything and there's no direction. They don't know what to do, and they just, that old expression, idle hands are the devil's playground, that's real.
That's real.
That's real.
That's very real.
Yeah. If you don't have a purpose in life, you don't have a direction that you feel like you should be going in, you feel so lost. And you can get sucked into all kinds of things. And you're filled with anxiety, and so then you escape with drugs. You're trying to like find something to make you feel better because you just don't feel good and you feel like a loser. The only thing that makes you feel good is accomplishing things, having a family, having loved ones, having friends, having a community. But accomplishing things too. All those are the only things that make you feel better in life.
I think the best way to prove your value is to work, is to learn, is to absorb, to be a sponge. But you always want to outwork your potential. You know, as hard as you believe you can work harder than that.
Any way you can be great at doing what you love to do, you got to commit to it. You can't want something but not put in the work. You know, and it doesn't matter what you're doing in life, no matter what it is. It could be a professional athlete, or it could be an artist, it could be a doctor, it could be anything in the world, a president of the United States. But you got to put the work in. And I think if you put the work in, the results will happen organically. And most important, you got to find happiness too. You know, if you're having fun, enjoying what you're doing, then it just makes it so much easier. It makes it so much easier to just like, you want to do it every day because it's something that you really enjoy doing and you don't look at it as work.
To have someone believe in us, to have one person see a spark in us, helps us recognize that it helps us see the spark in ourselves. You know, I think it takes only one person, whether it's a friend or a coach or a parent, a boss sometimes, you know, who takes a liking to us. And almost all of us can remember one person in our lives where it's a coach or a teacher who took us under their wing and saw something that we didn't see. And every single successful person on the planet has that person. But I think most of us do. Most of us have somebody who saw something in us, and we are who we are in part because of that person.
We follow the same heart, we follow the same hustle, but sometimes things are different. And you just gotta master whatever it is you're doing. Take a few losses that come with the game. As long as you finish on top, that's the only thing that counts.
That's another root of human struggle, worrying about other people's perceptions about who you are. Like, why would you ever care about that, you know? And I think that I fell victim to that in my past, of worrying about things that I can't control. You know, if the people understood what words could do to a human being, especially where we are in today's society, then they wouldn't be invested in that.
Contemplate the price you pay for inaction. So I think a lot of the time we presume that inaction has no cost, that it's like an impartial strategy, and it can cause us to continue to manana decisions. But it does. Inaction does have a cost, because your attention is the most important thing that you have. And it's not time. People think that time is the most important resource you have in life. It's not. It's attention. Because you can spend your time in ways where your attention is captured such that you didn't enjoy the time or realize the time has passed. So contemplate the price that you pay for inaction. It's a justification for you doing things sooner rather than later, and committing.
Listen, every day when you get out of bed, life's standing right there to kick you in the fucking face, man. Could be anything. Could be you get up and you walk downstairs, you got a fucking flat tire and you're late for work and you got this and that. Life is going to throw all kinds of crazy shit at you, right? And you have to be ready for it, and you got to fucking deal with it. You can't curl up into a ball. You can't run away from it. You can't hide. You have to take all this shit head on.
Do you be yourself and make sure that you love being yourself. And it's going to be roadblocks, it's going to be tribulations, but always remember, this is a life experience. Accept the experience, appreciate the experience, and learn how to move on from things that don't serve you well, you know, and find your journey.
There's a saying, there's a quote that I really believe in, that when the pain of the current reality becomes greater than the fear of change, that's when we change. So like when the pain becomes so intense that it's greater than the fear that you have of the unknown, then you'll go into the unknown. You can stand there at the door looking at this abyss, but when it becomes so fucking painful that you walk into that, that's when the change happens.
You're praying for change, and your life just starts falling apart, unraveling at the seams. Everything around you, your relationships, your job, it all goes away. The money in your bank account, it all goes away. And you look up and you go, God, what the fuck? God's like, dude, you asked for change. You asked for a new life. We can't go on in this environment that you're living in. We have to change the environment. We have to obliterate everything that stands and start new. because the foundation has to be rebuilt of what you're asking for. And if you're able to stay in it, because that's the ultimate yoga right there. That's the yoga of life, is are you able to maintain peace in the midst of that chaos, maintain focus, concentration, trust, and faith. You can either have faith or be in total fear looking into the unknown. Either one. It's on the precipice of the unknown. You have to either have faith and trust that when you let go, God's going to provide you with the next thing. Or you're in total fear and you never go anywhere and you never see what's on the other side of that thing.
Being hard on yourself is not motivating. It's demotivating. And if you already feel like a failure, or you feel a sense of shame, or you're overwhelmed, beating yourself up for where you are does not work. It drives you into the gutter. The most motivating force in the world, on the planet, based on research, hands down, is empowerment, encouragement, support, and celebration. And for our entire lives, we have outsourced that to somebody else.
I hate negative people. If you're negative, you got to get away from me. And there are people that come negative, pause, because that's just what they've been raised with, they're skilled, and it hasn't worked out because of that. It's just like you just lead with negative first. You know, if the first thing, if I have an idea, the first thing you want to talk about is the problems with it, then we got an issue. There's a time to talk about problems, but not while I'm dreaming.
What would you do if you just learned today that you only had 6 months to live? What if you only had 6 months to live? What would you stop doing? What would you do more of? Who would you spend time with? Now, the answer to that question is very interesting because what it tells you is what you really value. What is really important to you? And what we have found is that self-esteem, satisfaction, happiness in life comes from getting your goals and your activities congruent with your values, with your priorities, with what you consider to be really important.
What can I do to be happy?
Number one, you have to own your own happiness. Take it away from other people demanding that they make you happy. Your kids are not going to make you happy. Your spouse is not going to make you happy. A big house is not going to make you happy. Own your own happiness and be responsible for doing those things that bring joy into your own heart, independently of life and people and money and all of that stuff. Right. It doesn't necessarily give you a happiness. You have to take responsibility of that peace and that joy that lives inside of your heart and not inside of your stuff.
You got to want it first. Then you got to work it. Then you have the opportunity to win it. But it all starts with your want. You gotta want this. I can't want this for you. You gotta want this like no other. Then the work has to happen. And see, the work and the want gotta add up together to want each other. Then that puts you in a position to win. Ain't nobody giving you no W. You gotta go take that thing, man.
If you're trying to do something meaningful, if you don't have the mindset that you're the best ever, you failed already. So if you don't have the mindset that you are the best reporter ever, then you already failed. And that's been my mindset since I can remember. That will be my mindset as long as I can remember anything, that I am the best ever at what I do. And every day that I step on the basketball floor, I will strive to be that. But my mindset will always be as such, as I am the best to do what I do. But before you can ever reach anything, you have to believe it. You don't just mistakenly become great at something. You probably at one time or another, believe that you can be great at that. And then you work to get great at that, and you reach that greatness. But you don't mistakenly become great. And then you start to believe, oh man, I'm great at that. No, you believed that before, and you work to get that. So I always believe that. And I'll work every day to reach that.
You're not as far away from these dreams as you think you are. But because you think it's so far away, you behave in accordance with that belief system, and it always keeps it that far away from you. First thing is you need to believe and know that you're one decision, one relationship, one meeting, one book, one thought, one something away from a completely different life. And when you know that, then you begin to look for them.
More men realizing that it's not just about the car, the watch, the possessions, working until my eyes bleed. Obviously, the finance is what most people think about, right? Well, if I just make good money, I'll be a good provider as a man. Most men think that they're relegated to just being a provider. But there's more to being a man, you know. There is more to being a man. What about a level of faith, as in confidence in yourself, faith in a higher power, that there's a path for you, right? Faith in your friends and your circle of influence.
What I tell people is the way you get to the next level of your life is keep going. Keep going, keep running. Even when you don't even know, even if it turns into chaos. You cannot be great if you cannot operate in chaos. Because if you can operate in chaos, the world becomes Disneyland. Problems become scratches.